Thank you very much for the invitation. And as I said, I'm very sorry I cannot be here in person. The city of Nuremberg is located quite centrally, I would say. And I hope I can forward the slide now. Yes. This is where we are in Europe. You can see we are in the north of the state of Bavaria. And the city of Nuremberg itself has about 530,000 inhabitants. So it's one of the top 15 cities in Germany. The city itself is located in the Nuremberg metropolitan region. And I brought you this map because one of my main points is that we need to be regional, that need to think regional when it comes to climate protection and to becoming a green city. The second thing I would like to, or maybe I say a few words about our political constellation in Nuremberg. We have a term of 6 years, and my term started 2 years ago. Since I'm also responsible for the health department and the health administration, I was very much preoccupied with the pandemic, as you can imagine. But now we're really taking a fresh start for the next 4 years. The city itself is governed by a cooperation of parties of different colors. So it's led by the Conservative Party, but also the Social Democrats are in government, and the Green Party also supports most of the major policies. So it's quite a cooperative environment we are working in at the moment, which is very good. So first of all, I said think in terms of region, be regional would be one very important topic for me. The second is, as many mayors have said before, be ambitious and just try to get things done and let no one keep you from doing that. There are a lot of possibilities at the local level as well. And the third thing I would like to mention, because there was a lot of debate about that in Nuremberg during the last 2 years, be transparent when it comes to emissions and to ambitious goals the city has set itself. So where do we stand now in the city of Nuremberg at the moment? We also have facts and figures. I did not bring them all, but you can say that we have managed to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions by 40% compared to 1990, which sounds a lot and is quite an achievement, but it's also very clear that it's not enough to meet the Paris climate goals. And we have done a study that came to the conclusion if we wanted to keep or to share to do our share to the Paris goal, not to or to the 1.5 degrees goal, then our budget would end in 7 years' time. So that shows clearly that we are in a situation which is difficult, but we need to be honest about that also to our citizens, I believe. At the moment, we're standing at, when you look at the emissions per capita, it's about 6.6 tons. So unfortunately, a lot more than the speaker just said, who spoke before me. And in the city of Nuremberg, it's about 30% are the buildings, 20% is transport, and the rest is the industry, because Nuremberg traditionally also is quite an industrial production sector, even nowadays, and even though the service industry has grown a lot. So that's an issue for us, and that's something we need to tackle. So what have we been doing in the last years and decades in the city of Nuremberg? We have been doing a lot, but I think the big task now is to step up to the next level and be more ambitious. We have had a plan and an action plan for both climate protection and climate adaptation, which is also really important because Nuremberg is quite a dry and hot area, at least for German terms. And so adaptation becomes even more important now, of course. So these are two basic documents which have been adopted by our local politicians, by our local parliament, and these are the basics, basic really also for the administration. Nuremberg has set itself goals for carbon neutrality for the municipality itself, for the administration, and everything that we can influence directly. It's 2035, and at the moment, we have an external bureau who's doing a study, or which is doing a study with us. And when you just look at the administration and the city of Nuremberg itself, of course, it's the buildings and the heating of the buildings which is the biggest issue. We have set an investment plan, what it would take to get our buildings carbon neutral by 2035. And now we are trying to figure out how we can get the resources, because that's a huge investment program, of course. It also includes measures like what has been mentioned before, also, for example, to um, um, turn our buses or public transport system to electric drives. The city of Nuremberg, that means everything that happens in the city, has the goal of 2040. And like I just mentioned, that's very ambitious for us. Okay, so that's the goals we set ourselves. We have, when we look at the administration now, we have a big advantage. We have a department which specializes in energy management. We've had that for many years, and as you can see in the graph here, we also have successes here. We have managed to reduce our emissions, which result from municipal buildings a lot, even over the last decade. And that's even though the number of buildings has increased, because the city of Nuremberg has been growing a lot over the last decades. Um, if you are interested in details how we do that, and in more details to anything I say, of course, you're very welcome to come back to us. I also have included my contact details. We have an action plan for climate neutrality. Um, and like I just said, we have an external bureau who's doing that with us, and try to make it more specific where the biggest chances of energy saving are in the city. We are also planning now to have a special budget of around, it's not entirely clear, but several million euros. We try to realize that at the moment, to even accelerate this change to renewable energies, because the city of Nuremberg, as the most of the state of Bavaria or the south of Germany, is very much highly dependent on Russian gas. And you can imagine that in the situation now, there has been a lot of thinking what we can do to find solutions. We also are planning to implement a solar potential map for for the entire city, so that the owners of buildings can just look it up online whether they have a roof which would be um, good to have solar panels on. And that's one of the projects which is in the pipeline now. We have um, had several activities for many years where we cooperate with local partners, where we try to engage with the citizens, with owners of buildings, of course. And we have cooperated also, for example, with the Adult Education Center in the city of Nuremberg, or the Consumer Advice Center. We have discovered that when we do things like events where we share information how to do it, that we actually, to do that online is a good idea, because we reach a lot more people. So that's one benefit we have found out of the pandemic crisis. For many years, we've also had a school project which is called Keep Energy in Mind, which is a huge success. There is a challenge each year between all the schools, and they enter this challenge and present what activities they have been doing to lower the energy consumption in the schools. And at the end of the year, as you can see in the pictures, the most successful schools, they are invited to the council hall and they get a prize from the mayor. And this has been running for many years and is a very popular and very successful project. Having said that, our study we are doing now, how to become a carbon neutral by 2035, has shown us that especially the school buildings are a big problem because many of those buildings have high ceilings. We have very many old school buildings from even from the end of the 19th century or from the 1950s, because our city was very much destroyed during the Second World War. So we have a lot of buildings um, from this decade, from the 50s and 60s, which are not very energy efficient. Also running for many years has been our roundtable on energy and climate, which includes also representatives of civil society, of organizations like Friends of the Earth, but also citizens who have just implemented projects or also shared projects. And it's also a forum to exchange knowledge on how to do things, how to put things into practice. What I'm planning now is really to get that to the next level as well. I think that the governance in the city of Nuremberg, to reach our goal of climate neutrality, has to change, and we have it. So now we are planning to install an advisory board at a very high level, almost like a committee, which will be composed of representatives of the city of Nuremberg, of course, from the administration, representatives of civil society, but also industrial associations, because the industry is so important when it comes to reducing greenhouse gases in Nuremberg, and also representatives of the local universities and of science. And I I hope that with um, this advisory board, we can really put climate protection at the center of the political debate in the city of Nuremberg, because right now, very often, I'm in the situation that the environment committee agrees with all the proposals, but then it becomes very important, very difficult to implement that in the different departments in the city of Nuremberg. So we're trying to change that at the moment. We've also, just to give you some ideas, maybe because a lot of mayors are on the conference, I guess, what we also do are climate protection and climate change tours, like uh, a little similar to what you do when you have tourists in your city. You show the best of your city, and there we show the best of climate protection and climate change. Also has been running for quite a while. We also try to engage in international projects, because we always believe that we can learn from other cities and from other backgrounds. So that's what the city of Nuremberg does. I don't have so much time, but I also would like to look at the regional activities, if I may, in the metropolitan area of Nuremberg. Um, like I said, the regional cooperation is very important. The city of Nuremberg is the largest energy consumer in the metropolitan area. And for us, it's very clear that if we want to change to renewable energies, we cannot produce everything in the city of Nuremberg. So we really have to have a good partnership with the surrounding cities and also with the surrounding rural areas. And already in 2012, we made the first attempt, and we renewed it in 2017, our climate pact for the European metropolitan region. With that, we also have set ourselves regional goal of greenhouse gas reduction. And we also try to implement everything in a regional context. At the moment, we are in the process also of renewing this pact again and taking it up to the next level. A little similar to what I just said about Nuremberg, we have a climate protection and sustainable development regional forum, which has about 100 or a little more regional participants. We have mayors, but also representatives of the administrations, companies, experts, and so on, who meet on a regular basis. We have a meeting. Sometimes we meet online, but we try to go to the different areas in the metropolitan region and look at be- best practices and really try to enforce cooperation and the sharing of best practices in the region. And I think we have been quite successful in doing that. A very huge step up for this cooperation was the possibility in Germany that the German state funds the installation of climate protection managers in cities and municipalities throughout Germany. And so this has become a very important network for us, a very important knowledge hub in the region. And one of the activities the climate protection managers have developed, which I really like because it's very hands-on and very directed at the citizens, is our CO2 challenge, our carbon challenge, which takes place each year at the time of Lent between Carnival and Easter. Many people in Bavaria try to do something good, not to drink alcohol, eat less, and things like that. And we have a challenge where you have a little challenge for each day, what you can do for the environment and for climate protection. For example, these are very, yeah, I think the one colleague who's holding the sock is probably turn your heating down a little bit and put on something warm. So it's really, really small steps, but it's aimed to raise the awareness for climate protection, of course. The current activities include, and I would really like to mention them because I think they're very important at the moment, include the funds for climate protection and sustainable development. We try to set up a fund from the region for the region because we have realized that a lot of people, ordinary citizens, but also a lot of companies want to do something good, want to invest in climate neutrality and climate adaptation, but they don't really know where to invest it. So now we are in the process of setting up a fund where municipalities can give us their project where they have no financing. And we have the people who want to invest in the region. The big advantage of course, is that you can literally go to a project that's being realized because it's in the area. So that's in the process of being set up. And right now we have more than 20 municipalities who've already joined that, and we have several large companies who which support this project as well. I think I already mentioned that we also want to update our climate pact, and to do that successfully, we're just in the process to applying for a big project which will be funded by the Federal Ministry of Education and Research, which is about transformation to sustainability. And we want to be a pilot region to do that, to close the implementation gap between the goals we set ourselves and what we have realized in reality. And we want, again, um, take our approach of best practices to the next level. And very importantly, we want to also want to introduce the view of the grid in the area. Like I said in the beginning, it's very important to think regional. A lot of municipalities have developed activities, are installing photovoltaic and so on. Um, it's a lot more difficult with wind in our area, but we need to tackle that as well because we also need energy when it's dark and when it's cold. And with this project, we really are going to look at the energy supply grid in the area, because at the moment we already have the situation that sometimes we have to cut off the renewables because they cannot be taken on by the grid. So that's the big focus of this project. So I would like to conclude that, of course, we have, as municipalities, we have a lot of playing ground. We have an important role, and we can do a lot. Um, speaking for the city of Nuremberg, a lot more action is needed to fill the Paris Agreement. But we also have a lot of chances, and also now with the energy crisis, a momentum and a chance to take up speed. Regional networks are very important and crucial to be able to successful. And that's really something, or maybe a thought I would like to give you in the end, that of course it's important to do everything you can within your municipality, but it also makes great sense to be in contact with other municipalities, and there are a lot of things and a lot of solutions you can find together. So thanks very much to for having me here today. And as I said before, if there are any questions, myself or also my climate protection team is very happy to answer that for you. Thanks very much.